again. We're not too far from here. I'm not gonna answer my phone. I'm tired of arguing. You're the one who started it, so don't put this at my door.
You know, I could play the whole song. That's from my album, Black Balloon Studio, Cheers Good People. You can find it on iTunes, really anywhere else that you want to look for it. But we were talking last week about how I used to rap on some of my songs, and that's something I should never have done. But yeah, the acoustic guitar, man, the acoustic guitar and singing has always been an outlet for me, and I've kind of gotten away from it the past couple of years, and it's really depressing me. It really is. I need to get back together with the guitar. Welcome to the Bill and Joe Show. As you can tell, it's just me this week. We had some conflict interests, scheduling issues, Joe and I this week, so it's just going to be me this week, but it's fine. We're going to be fine. We're going to get through it. This week's episode is brought to you by our friends at Run Dumb Fun Games. You can go to rundumbfun.com, run, R-U-N, dumb, like you're dumb, fun.com, and check out their games. They got 2 games in the Google Play App Store right now called This or That and No, which are fun trivia games, and they're fun like party games. But I want to tell you about their new game that they're working on. They sent me over the demo for it, and the game is called Eleanor, and it's kind of like one of those choose your own adventure kind of things. You know, like you gotta solve the clues, and you gotta decide what your character does, and based on your decisions, it will change the outcome of the storyline, and it'll change what information you get to know. So if you and a friend are playing the game and you're like, yeah, man, I made it, and it's really cool the way that they have it broken up in day 1, day 2, day 3. So you could be playing with a friend and be like, yeah, man, I just finished day 1. You know, I found all this stuff out, and that other person may have gotten a completely different storyline, a completely different bundle of information, but they all tie together. rundumbfun.com. You can go check them out. Eleanor, I believe, is going to be released sometime within the next couple of months, I would assume. They've been working really hard at it. They've sent me over, like I said, the demo for day 1, and it looks great, so make sure to check them out. Welcome to the Bill and Joe Show. God, I mean, like a lot has happened in my life, and I guess the past month and a half, and those who have listen to the show know that I got my new place. That new place is starting to fill up with stuff. So it's starting to feel a little bit more like a house. I had a couple of good friends give me a lamp. That was nice of them. So I've got a lamp now. I've got a TV, and all you know, I got my own place. And I just bought my kids bunk beds, so when they spend the night, they're totally stoked about it. We went and picked out bed sheets, and of course my little girl wanted Paw Patrol, which is weird because Paw Patrol is more geared towards 4-year-old boys, I would think. And my son, of course, got Star Wars bed sheets, but had to get him a bed. Speaking on the personal front, for those of you that know, me and my wife have been separated for a year, and we've been making really good progress in reconciliation. You know, we're starting to, work through some things, both individually and together. And it's, a really interesting time in my life. Like, I get to have the kids more, which has always been kind of like a hot-button issue for us. And, yeah, so that's really cool. What's not really cool is I've got this, I want to say a flesh wound, almost. Let me tell you a story. So I'm hanging out. I'm by myself. The kids had just left, and I'm here watching Netflix because I don't have cable. I've decided to opt out of cable just for now, so I could just use Netflix and catch up on all the shows or all the new shows. I was on Better Call Saul, but I promised Danielle that I would not move forward unless she was watching it with me. And that, it really sucks when you watch an episode, when you sneak one, and then you get together with the person that you said you wouldn't watch one with, and then you have to rewatch it. And even if you admit that you already watched it, like just sitting through it again is just kind of like, oh God, let's get to the next one. Like, I know how this one ends. Come on. Kind of sucks. So I've had to put a pause on that, and then I switched over to House of Cards. And House of Cards, I've made this standpoint on this show for years now. When it first came out, Season 1 blew me away. I couldn't wait for Season 2. And then Season 2, it just seemed like the writers just got away from their point, and they were like, all right, let's drag this out as long as we can. It's a success, which, I can't blame them because that's what every single television show does. They do the pilot and then they get signed for like 2 seasons, and then if the show's a hit, then they want to draw it out so they can get to that next payday where they have to renegotiate their contract for the next 4 or 5 seasons or however many seasons. But I just thought Season 2 it got a little bit ridiculous, and it kind of turned me off. I didn't like it. Plus, they killed my girl Zoe. In the beginning of Season 2, they didn't even let us have another entire season of seeing her beautiful ass walk around. Like, it just I wasn't happy with a lot of the decisions that they made. But, so I'm sitting here. I didn't have Better Call Saul. I guess I could rewatch Breaking Bad because I've been dying to do that, but that's kind of like, that's kind of like a me and Danielle thing. We both found, that show. So I don't want to do that because the last thing I want to do is get into Season 3 and then her be like, yeah, let's start Breaking Bad. And then I got to watch 3 seasons of the damn thing. So I decided to give House of Cards another chance. Season 3, I'm like, all right, let's see what's going on. And I like it. I love it, actually. It's very interesting how I think that they saw the drawback in viewership on Season 2. And they're like, okay, maybe we went a little bit too far. Let's start making these changes. And the characters are growing again. They're changing. Kevin Spacey is not this cold-hearted killer like he was in the first one. He starts to show compassion for life. Don't get me wrong, he's always got an agenda, but he does have moments of, sincerity that I had never seen in the show before. So I'm sitting here, I'm watching this, I'm glued to the TV, I'm having a couple of beers, and I go to my fridge, and a friend of mine calls, and I answer the phone, and I'm talking to him. Now, you guys can all imagine how hard, it is to hold a cell phone to your ear when you're, like, trying to reach in the fridge and shit. It was hard enough back in the days when you had the Zach Morris phone or the old rotary phones and shit. So I'm reaching in to the fridge to grab another beer, and I'm talking on my phone, so my head is like squished up against my shoulder. I go to pop the top of it, and I drop it. I don't know why, I don't know how, but I drop it, and I go to step over it, and I slip on all the beer and shove my hip, like right behind my hip, like right in the thas region, like right in the bass region, like the lower back, right about to get to your ass. The bass region, I don't know if that was where the actual bottleneck was like sticking up, but it just crushed right through, like ripped a hole into my back. I don't know what I do. There's blood everywhere. Everywhere. I cannot stop bleeding. Like, I don't... It's huge. Like, I can... There's a flap of skin. I know. It's gross. But there's like a flap of skin just, dangling off of it. And I consider for a moment, I was like, well, fuck, I got to make sure I get the glass out. So I think, well, why don't you go take a shower? But then I've also heard that you don't want to do that because the hot air will make you bleed more, which will make you faint, which will make you bleed out. So I'm like, well, I can't do that. So I just I grabbed some paper towels and I put it on my ass for like 20 minutes. I just had to keep changing them like every 5 minutes because there's just so much blood. And finally it stopped. like, and by finally, I mean, like, the next morning. Like, it wasn't as bad as it was at first, obviously, because it was coagulating and, fixing itself. But, the next morning, I think it had finally stopped. But, man, that was like a week ago, and it still hurts. I got a bandage on it. I've been Neosporing the shit out of it. It was not a fun day for me by any stretch of the imagination. But, yeah, I ended up getting all the glass out of it, but I think there's like this little tiny piece of sharded glass like in my other cheek that every time I sit down, like it's not painful, it's just annoying, and I think it's in there. So I did some research, and apparently glass will push itself out just through, like shedding of your skin, So I'm hoping that's the case. Otherwise, I'm going to be that war vet, that talks about, shrapnel in his ass for the rest of his life, and I don't want to do that. Because I don't have a cool story like a war vet does. I was a dumbass. I fucking slipped on my own broken beer and fucking shoved glass up my ass. Not very, not a cool story. In fact, I don't even know why I shared it with you, but I've had an interesting week. It's been an interesting week. Let's see, what else? Yesterday, or 2 days ago, I'm sorry, I had the kids over. Like I do when they watch their shows for the millionth time, or they want to play in their room or whatever. I usually take that time to pick up their mess, clean the house, do whatever. And my kids are real into Fuller House now. They've always loved the original Full House for one reason or another. Maybe it's because anytime it was on TV, like I never turn it off because like I just, for some reason, I love that show. As corny as it is. But those moments at the end of the show, and I'm really disappointed that Fuller House doesn't do this, but those moments at the end of the show where they play that like heartwarming music and, something's going on and Uncle Jesse has got to talk to Michelle or DJ has to talk to Stephanie about something serious about like missing their mom. Like those moments are just, that's what got me way back when it was a show back in between Charles in Charge and I don't even know any of the other ones. I can't remember. Charles in Charge was by far my favorite. But, it's a good show, Fuller House. It's a good show. I'm glad that they did it. They've got a lot of, adult content in there that wasn't in the original. And they poke fun at themselves a lot, which I enjoy. I was not expecting that. But, yeah, it's a good show. So I don't, and it's still wholesome. I mean, it's still totally okay for my kids. So they just want to watch it. So they're watching it. I'm in the kitchen. I'm like cleaning up, getting the dishes in the dishwasher and stuff like that. All of a sudden I hear my daughter go, I run in here. I see a quarter literally fly out of her mouth towards the television. And she's still choking. Like she can't breathe. So I'm like, what? She's like, and I'm like, okay. So I got behind her and I tried giving her the Heimlich, but I felt like I was doing it too hard, or maybe not in the right spot. So I tried it a couple of times, but nothing was happening. So I spun her around. I knelt down on one knee and kind of leaned her back, and then I closed her nose and blew in her mouth like as hard as I could. And I'm not a doctor. I don't know if it did anything, but I don't know if that did anything or if it just happened to go down at the exact same time. Obviously being a dad, I would love to think that, I saved my little girl. But she was fine. She could breathe. I made her drink water, to wash it down. She said it felt like it was still stuck in her throat. I was like, honey, your throat's probably just, if it was still stuck in your throat, you wouldn't be able to breathe. And bless her heart, she's like, am I going to die? And, I had to, be dad, for a minute there. And I assured her that she wasn't. I just told her to keep drinking. And then she, kept complaining. She was like, I feel like I want to throw up. I was like, whoa. At first I was like, yes, then go throw up. And then I thought about it. And she couldn't tell me how many quarters she had swallowed. They were quarters. She was playing with quarters next to her mouth, watching Full House, when something funny happened, and she laughed, and she opened up her mouth, and the quarters slid down her throat. So she couldn't tell me how many quarters she swallowed. So for all I know, if she would have told me that they were pennies, I would have been like, go for it. But quarters? Like, I didn't want 2 quarters like coming back up and then lodging them